Hello, thanks for joining me for a little roundup of what you could make from a bin. Well, not from a bin, but from the contents of a bin. Potential contents of a bin. Depends on the bin. Basically, it's just a little show and tell, I suppose, showing the fruits of my labour as a result of my last two multi-part videos. I don't know how many parts they are because I haven't actually edited them yet. But I thought I'd just do a summary of these hardback, and paperback. Basically, just some methods of making yourself a sketchbook, notebook, whatever it is you want. This is a very early one I did about a year ago now. This is a zine. Kind of has the illusion of this is one that's been read, so it's not perfect anymore, but it's got the illusion of, the square sort of, what I think they call perfect binding, paperback, but has a sort of square back. And I just want to quickly go over them. I say quickly, but I ramble, so this could be who knows how long. I'll just quickly go over them and show you pros and cons of using my methods, which I will personally say are not necessarily industry standard, should we say. Well, not necessarily recommended, they're just the way I do them. And the idea is that anybody can do it using nothing more than, I reach across the camera, scissors, a knife, some sort of paper folding burnishing tool, a ruler, metal one, a reasonably fine paintbrush, a pencil, and of course PVA glue, just cheap wood glue. And frankly, most of those tools you can get from, well, in the UK I just get a lot from a certain pound related store, but you can get, you get them all sort of discount stores. I think in America, I don't know, what does I keep hearing used or mentioned, Harbor Freight. I don't know if they do small stuff, I don't know. Anyway, you know yourself, your discount store where stuff comes from China. So yeah, so I'll just start at the back, because I'll start where I started initially, and that is this. I got fed up of paying for, printing, binding. It's bloody expensive stuff, and I just wanted to make a little zine. I'm not going to sort of advertise my zine here as such. It's ROMP. It stands for Random Old Media and Print. And the sleeve, literally is made on a old thermal printer. In other words, the kind of thing you get your till receipts from. I just, made it, measured it, glued it, printed out the word ROMP Volume 1 lots of times in it. I like it. People seem to like it. If you want a thermal printer, they're everywhere. You get them for about a tenner, from £10 and up really. Or if you're really lucky, like me, you get one from an old shop clear out. Keep your eyes peeled. So, this was my first attempt at doing what this is. And, sorry, I'm off camera here a little bit. Basically, this is stapled. So this is gonna last. I'm not going to go into the book, but these adverts are actually from a book I mentioned in, I think, the end of my last video. I had a big stack of books using them as weights, and I mentioned I like the old adverts. This is them. Well, this is what I did with them. These are copies, not much more than photocopies, really. I just love it. Anyway, so that's that. Now, this actually opens okay. You can't, it's like a hardback. You can't completely lay it flat, but it's okay. But what you don't know and can't really see, you can kind of feel them through here, is staples. And I don't mean just 2 or 3 staples. I mean staple, the whole way up in order to try and get it flat. By flat, I mean if you don't have proper equipment, well, you can in fact see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can maybe see them in the light there. So it ain't perfect, but for the most part, it's actually not bad, and the pages will not fall out of that. I'm very confident the staples won't fall out. But as you can see, it kind of has created this pinch. So the reason for using multiple staples is to compensate for the pinching effect. So if you had this in a proper paper vise, you know, it wouldn't be such an issue. You could staple, it'd be better. But my vise was in fact the stapler, so I had the thing here like this and staple it. So anyway, that's one version. A paperback with a flat spine. Not that hard to make. Fiddly, a little bit fiddly. But frankly, if you like crafts and you like, I don't know, Airfix kits, you like, I don't know, gluing things together, mucking around with pieces of paper and cutting stuff. If you're watching this video, frankly, you probably will have some interest in, you know, making things. In which case, you know, just give it a go. It's not going to hurt. Worst case scenario, you make a mistake. This was just using, oh bloody hell, can't get this thing in. It was just using printer paper. Specific kind of printer paper. I wanted one that was off-white and a slightly recycled pulp, so you know, I have reasons for things. Anyway, so there's one paperback that's actually worked out okay. The problem with this is cutting that many pages. That's sort of my maximum that I'd ever want to try and cut using a ruler and a knife. If you have access to a guillotine that can cut 100 pages, perfect. You're set. You're set. That's like half. Sorry, that's like half the battle won. So the next kind, I thought, I was trying to figure out myself for zines and things, because I make zines, easier ways of binding things to give things a better look than just here's a piece of paper with some staples in it. You know, I wanted something that looks sort of professional-ish, or as professional as I can do, but cheap. So then I thought, spiral binding. And so I bought myself a £15. It's worth more than £15, but I got it from a surplus store. So it's a machine that basically lets you put these things in. The plastic combs, combs they're called, come in various sizes for various numbers of pages. To be honest, the main thing the machine really is, the main thing about it is the holes that it punches. Now, this has, again, depending on how you want to do it and the page sizes and all the rest of it, it has problems. So I went over it in other videos. You can see, sorry, I've got to stop hitting the camera. You know, things like this, the hole isn't, basically, it isn't spaced out enough or enough, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So this comes off. Now, it actually doesn't really bother me that much, to be honest. It's not going to affect it. I mean, it opens fine. You know, the pages don't stick up or anything, which we had problems with within the variation of this, which I'm not going to go into now because that was done in another video. I didn't go crazy trying to get the pages cut evenly in this one because the nature of these comb things, you know, the pages don't sit even. You know, they're sloppy. But that's the nature of them. I have an idea. My original idea was to try to do a kind of faux hardcover, so get some textile material, cover this, and then cover the hinge loosely. Don't glue the textile to the hinge, but just wrap it around, and then the inside do the same thing that we do with the other hardbacks. Put a page in here that links up to that. I thought actually that might give a nice look. I haven't done that yet. If you want to see me try that, comment, subscribe, and you'll see it. Oh yeah, and the other point, the asterisk thing. I'm not trying to advertise asterisks or claim any originality over this, obviously. I'd like to think that's obvious. But the point is, this came from an old annual, an asterisk annual. And before you think, oh, man, why did you tear up an old asterisk annual? I didn't. The asterisk annual, came from a charity shop for £1 and had a ton of pages missing, so it wasn't really worth much. Also, it's in French and I can't read French. The back is from, you might notice, a certain game, Operation. Again, so it's board game material. There's part of the instructions. But it's good material, you know. Found it in a bin. Charity shops around where I am, or thrift stores, perhaps where you are. Second-hand shops, whatever. Point is, some of these places throw lots of stuff out in the bins. I have no moral objection to rooting through charity shop bins when it just goes to landfill. So heck, there it is, free cover material, decent card. So that's that one. The next thing I thought I'd try and do was a miniature version, because I thought, well, I've got odd shapes, odd sections of the board, sorry, not the board game, the annual left, and I thought, well, let's just cut a piece out. It just so happened that I had this paper, which was already this size. I didn't have to do anything with this paper. This paper is actually old index card paper that came from, again, the bin behind a charity shop. I'm not saying where. It ain't going to be anywhere near you, more than likely. But, you know, check out your own. And it came with this lovely little tin, metal tin with this lid, and it looked like it was from the, must have been from the late 50s. And the idea was the tin, you had these cards in it and you wrote your recipes on it. Really convenient, because if you do sketching and writing, because one side's blank, the other side's got it's lined. And again, asterisks on the back. Oh, I did it the wrong way, but never mind. You know, it's still asterisks again. And the comb, conveniently, was like a leftover sized piece. So, you know, reuse the combs. So the combs are, you know, about that long. A3-ish sort of size, A4 size, you know, bits left over. Again, there you go, easy peasy, and that's pocketable and should last a reasonable length of time, because the combs don't just break or anything. I mean, unless you manhandle them, but you know, they last. Then that was my first set of videos. Like I say, go watch them. It might be a bit of a laugh, to be honest, because I go through them in a very unedited way. So it's kind of not one take straight up, but it, you know, I break my bloody machine in halfway through it, and you know, I show you the mistakes basically, because these were one-offs, the first attempts. So after that video, bear with me. After that video, I thought, you know, I may as well just make a hardback book. I've been meaning to try and make one for the last 2 years, because I've only ever had lessons. I say lessons. I had a class where they show us a traditional way of doing bookbinding. I thought, I'm sure I can do that with cheap parts and make my own stuff, you know. So then this came about, because I sort of expected people to say, hey, why don't you do a hardback book rather than just using spiral binding? I thought, okay, well, we'll give it a go. So this was born. Now this, don't know if you can see it all. As you can see, you know, it's normal, it's a hardback book. To be honest, I really like this. It came out better than I thought it would. Again, I learned some things through doing this, because this didn't go quite to plan. My little thing fell down. If you're in the UK, you'll get it. Anyway, so the material looks vaguely William Morrissey. Maybe it's not, but I think it sort of looks like that. Is actually the lining material from the base of an old deck chair. And the chair broke, and I thought, oh, I love this material, I'm going to do something with it. I was originally going to turn it into like a painting canvas for painting on. But I didn't. I used it on this. Now, there's some very big reasons why you don't want to use raw cotton and normal textile materials as book covering materials. You know, there are specialist materials for book binding and book covers. I have a personal idea how I can make a normal textile material workable as a book binding material, but this was just raw material, and it took effort. But anyway, it's worked out. The card, this card inside here, thick card, this is again bin material. It's the old oh, I don't have any left. I've used all mine up. They're the file dividers you get in old filing cabinets and things, and they come with these little plastic things on the sides. That's all that is. Cut it down to size, A4 paper. Paper inside is just £3 for 500 pages A4, and yeah, there it is. Interestingly, I would say one thing, which is kind of follow-up from my other videos. Because I use quite watery, cheap PVA glue, the pages take quite a while for the wrinkles to go away. Some of the wrinkles are because of paper grain, isn't correct. You know, like I say, I'm just making do here. So it takes a long time for it to truly, really set, because some of the glue goes on quite thick in the spine area. But again, you know, that's not that bad. It's not, you know, it's not going to win me an award for anything, but you know, it's not bad. Again, glued, not threaded, stitched, sorry. I mean, it's not stitched. These pages are glued in at the spine. I know some of you are going to be saying, oh, but you know, they're going to fall out. Well, glue yourself a big wad of pages together with Yoo-hoo glue, not PVA. I did Yoo-hoo for the spine. It's a different type of glue. Go into the other videos to see the details. You try pulling the pages out. I think you'll find you'll tear the paper before you actually tear it out. It's not like you know, A4 file paper. You can just tear the paper and it just comes out. It's not as easy as that, trust me. This will last a reasonable length of time. Not, you know, maybe as long as a stitched cover, but this is for everybody to be able to do. Well, some people, more people to be able to do. You don't need to be a stitching or a seamstress or whatever the term is. You know, also it doesn't take as long because stitching a spine takes forever. Bloody hell, I need to breathe before words here, don't I? Anyway, so with the mistakes and issues doing this, the flowery one, I thought, right, I want to do it with paper. And another idea I tried once before, sort of tried, doing a spine with what is basically duct tape. Whatever your term for it is, I'm not sure. But it's basically that silver or black tape that's quite gummy, sticky, and as you can see here, it's kind of got, can you see? Can you see? Yeah, oh, just about there. It's got fibers, you know, it's got like a textile sort of fibery stuff in it. Threads in it. Again, if you go back to my videos, you'll see this I thought was going to be a total disaster. Worked out actually alright. There's no spinal ridge though, like on the other book. There's like a ridge here where the hinge is. That hasn't really worked or happened on this. But again, same thing again. That paper stuff. Again, this was only done a day ago, so well, it's kind of alright, but still a few wrinkles here and there. Again, it's okay. Has its faults, but for the most part, you know, I haven't actually tidied up some of these edges here, like that particular. Oh, sorry, can you see this? Yep, that bit in particular. Is it going to focus? Is it going to focus? Okay, whatever. The bits where it folds over, I haven't trimmed them off yet because I didn't measure the reasons. Anyway, the point is, this is easier because you don't have to fart about with gluing a piece of fabric. This is literally just tape for the spine, for the hinging, and paper for the decoration. So that was the hardback ones, and frankly, I can't be bothered with them. I just think hardbacks are kind of, in all honesty, overrated. I don't like using hardbacks as sketch pads because you can't really open them properly, or you can't get into the full bit of the paper, the bit of the page, because you've always got a little bit on the inside where there's the bend. Yeah, I personally think if you like them, you like them. I'm not judging you if you like them. I just think they're overrated. I think maybe for big volumes of books or big volumes of text, maybe they're better. You know, I don't know. But I think as sketchbooks and notebooks or journaling, or if you journal or write diaries or whatever, like I said, I don't like them. Anyway, there's other ways of doing that. You can modify that to your heart's content. I mean, you could, instead of gluing or stitching the pages, you can drill holes through the damn things and bolt them all together if you really want. But you know, there's lots of flavors to that. My personal favorite is the one that's lurking at the bottom. This one, not this one. It's basically the same thing. Plain. I do like brown, I'm not going to lie, I like brown and beige. You might notice with the 70s styling here. But plain, just a plain, what I think someone's called a jotter, or just a notebook. Plain pages folded over. You can jazz it up really a lot. Well, I'm being sarcastic here, but with coloured staples. Ooh, you can get different coloured staples, believe it or not. And it adds, I don't know. I do actually like them a little bit. They're a little bit gimmicky, like adding tinsel to it or sparkles. But yeah, I like them. It's straightforward. There's no the only thing you have to cut is to trim off the pages here along the side when you fold them over. That's not so bad to do if you keep the page numbers at about 20 to 40. 40 is really the maximum, then it starts getting messy. Again, if you've got a guillotine, it'll do, let's just say, 50 or 100 pages accurately and swiftly and nicely and sharply, blah blah blah. Brilliant, you can do anything. But you know, it's straightforward. You know, you can, I see this as like a blank canvas. I'm not being forced to, you know, and you can open these much more. You don't have to worry about breaking the spines. You look, it almost opens flat. That's not even the middle page. You know, I love them. I mean, if you really want, once you've got your cover made, you know, the brown bit, you can do your own printing on it. You know, run it through the printer. You can, you know, you can run this stuff through the printer. It might not come out like, ink might bleed a little bit. I'm not sure really. I've not actually printed inkjet printing onto this kind of paper, but put it through a laser printer. You can print on it. Or if you really want to go crazy, screen print on it. Do some block printing. That's another tutorial or another show and tell I'll do another day. But you know, you can. It's possible. All things are possible. This one, the only reason I did this one, and this is an example of sort of Bob Ross logic. You don't make mistakes, just happy little accidents that, you know, you can use to your advantage. So initially, oh, I forgot to trim the edge off of this one. You might notice that there. Okay, we'll ignore that a bit. No, actually it lines up. Okay, that's not such a tidy one. Anyway, the staples on the inside are actually not normally this part. This is actually the back of the staple that you'd usually on the outside, so it's what you'd see on the outside of this. So what I'm saying is I did it upside down and thought, oh damn, I really don't want the hooky bits being on here. So I thought, oh, I know, I'll use this as an excuse to make a reinforced spine. So instead of just plain paper spine, what I did with this, I put a bit of masking tape over it. Masking tape to take some of the bumps off. So right now you can't even feel the staples. You could just about see them. You wouldn't be able to see them on the camera, but you could just about see them. So the masking tape goes over, and then again another bit of this kind of duct tape type stuff, and then literally just glue on a page from another comic, another Asterix comic, and that's that. And then I used the burnishing tool I mentioned. The whatever you call it, you use it to flatten pages and things. And I just highlighted the what technically is actually not a good thing, but I thought, you know, I'll make a feature out of it. And so it has that line. I think the line looks really nice on it actually, but the line is actually where the masking tape ends. So, you know, you can make things out of it, and you might have, this is another way of making it seem that it was intentional. It's paper is the comic is upright, the correct orientation this way. Turn it around, it's the correct orientation. Correct orientation. That was an accident. I just put it on upside down. But you know, what it does mean is that it's actually called tumble turn. I think that's a term used in printing. But I mean, you know, it gives the person the option of having a different cover to the front, or a different front if they prefer that one to that one, which I actually prefer this one. Yeah, I think that pretty much wraps it up. Sorry the fact that they're all Asterix, it's just that Asterix was the one I was using, and I was the one I'd already cut all the pages up out of, and I thought, well, I'll just keep using it, so it looks like it's an Asterix themed thing. Well, it is Asterix themed, but it's not intentional. But yeah, like I say, this one to me is honestly the easiest. The only thing is, for this one, you do need a tool, and that is a long reach stapler. Well, I'm not going to get it out and show you because it's boxed away, but it's the one which is like a normal stapler on a big long arm, and you can do up to A4 from an A3 page. So you fold A3 page in half and then staple in the middle. That's the only thing you'd need to buy to make this. But go on eBay or some other Alibaba or whatever, or AliExpress. Sorry, not Alibaba. You know, you get them for less than a tenner, and they're all right. That mine hasn't broken or gone wrong. You know, they're not the world's best made thing. If you want, you can go and find an old one. You know, pay 40 quid for one if you want. But the point is, they'll last you. And you've got a never-ending supply of paper then, so you just either buy office paper or whatever paper. Heck, you might even find paper in the bin. I got a load of old dot matrix printer paper. and I love using that because it's like old recycled paper. It's not as dark as this, but it's not as white. It's not as white as that. I love this stuff, to be honest. It's just I like that old recycled sort of paper look. Looks like newsprint. So yeah, folks, that pretty much sums it up. I hope this wasn't too boring, or maybe you've got a question, or maybe you want me to show you something else. In my mind, I have the idea to make a proper paper clamp, because I know I'm saying you can do all this with just a knife and scissors and whatever else, and you can for the most part, but you do need some way of holding all the pages together while you glue them. I use G-clamps. Go into the cheap G-clamps, something you can get from a discount store again. I'll link in my previous videos to give you an idea. Like, I've got to warn you, those videos, they're not rehearsed, they're not scripted. No more than this is actually not scripted or rehearsed or whatever. I'm sure you can tell. But yeah, it's a journey. It's not a DIY tutorial. It's a journey showing my attempt at teaching myself to make a book. And if you can get through all of my rambling and pick up the little bits and pieces, then I'd like to think you also might be able to avoid some mistakes, or at least embrace making your... Wow. Can you hear that noise? I'm not sure if you heard that, but some kid just shouted outside. Never mind. Maybe they're laughing at me. Anyway, so the point is, embrace mistakes. There's another version of this which I haven't actually shown you, which is it didn't work out. And I'm going to use it for myself as a notebook. It's not one I'd give anybody. But I mean, well, kind of annoyingly. It's not annoying, really. I only wanted one sketchbook, and I ended up making all these just as examples and thought, hey, put them on YouTube. So, embrace mistakes, make the mistakes. If I made this and I screwed up the edge of the paper here and it didn't work out, well, so what? Trim another big bit off and have an interesting, narrow book. You can do that. No one's here to tell you not to. It's your little work surface. You can do what you want. But I just noticed you can see my little kitty here. That's also something... Oh, sorry, that didn't come from a bin. I found that in a charity shop. Anyway, gonna finish my coffee. Happy day, happy bookbinding, happy crafting, happy making. If you did like this ramble, please do subscribe, or if you think I'm a lunatic, feel free to comment or something. Stick around and you will see some of the things which are not in any real way related to bookbinding. This whole channel of mine is going to be literally what I do, just my little projects I do. So whether it's postcards made from old boxes and things, or whether it's, I don't know, I've got some audio projects and some photographic stuff, all sorts of things. So it's going to be a mishmash of all sorts of things. That's why it's called Salvage Joe, because I go through bins, find stuff, find uses for them, and fix them and clean them, and this is going to be like a whole big channel of, well, literally rubbish in some ways. Anyway, thanks for watching, and bye-bye. Catch you next time.